So 6:30 isn't.
I'm waiting for a Zoom to
Yeah.
connect. Okay. Call to order, regular council meeting for September 2nd, 2025. Let's stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Councilmember Pritchard.
Present.
Councilmember Spears.
Present.
Councilmember Kennedy.
Here.
Councilmember Maxwell.
Here.
Councilmember Herbold. And
Here.
Councilmember Olson.
Here.
Okay, and we know we have a vacancy now. We'll be talking about that a little while later in the meeting. Calling for the approval of the agenda as submitted. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda?
Move to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, moving forward with the agenda as submitted. Opportunity for interested citizen comment. There will be another opportunity at the end of the meeting. Seeing none on the list, anyone in the council chambers today or online that would like to comment? This is your opportunity. Hearing none, we'll move on. Looking for announcements, proclamations, and special presentations. I do not believe we have any at this time. Committee reports, Councilmember Pritchard.
No committee this time.
Okay, any comments?
I'll let you guys talk about the Fairchild Day. It was great to go play.
Go ahead and share what you would like.
Oh,
to
yeah.
share. It's fine.
Yeah, so a few months ago, we did the National Guard, wonderful sort of day at Fairchild to understand what the community members are done. And then this last Friday was with the 92nd Air Force. We got on a flight, we got to see some of the safety and attack dogs and look at some of the firearms that they put out. And went up to the tower, which I had never done before. And I mean, flying over Mount St. Helens on the plane, looking down at the refueler was amazing. It's just kind of nice to know more about what people are in the community, for sure, and what their needs are less. I know from at least in the National Guard, when they're meeting, there was a need for daycare because most Air Force members will take the daycare slots. So I know that Sunny and folks are Glenn are working on potentially providing that. So, but this time it sounded like we were just kind of more. It's great.
Yeah, it was a great time.
And
Absolutely.
I think I'm on the task force. So that's it.
Okay, Councilmember Spears.
First of all, I wanted to let everybody know I need to put in a request for absence for next meeting.
Okay.
I'll be in Boston at an APTA conference with the STA. Other than that, I don't have anything. I have been named as chair of the finance committee. So we have reviewed the claim warrants and everything looks good as far as that goes.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. We'll probably be asking council members if any of the city council members like to fill that seat. There will be a vacancy on the finance committee, so you can think about that and let Sunny know if you're available.
I'll do
To serve. Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Harbolt's asking to sit on the finance committee. Do we need council approval for committee appointments?
So. I remember I looked in that before. I do not think, but certainly to make sure.
We'll come back around if we
Yeah.
need that. We
Yeah.
can take a vote in council, but consider yourself appointed. Thank you very much. Councilmember Kennedy.
To add to what Chad just said about the local leaders, there are 15 of us that were on this trip. And there were council members from Medical Lake, from Maryland Heights, Liberty Lake, City of Spokane, Spokane County Commissioners, Sheriff Knowles, and Spokane Police Department were all on this. It was a wonderful day that I'm thinking the main point of that we heard was that there is move afoot to put in windmills within 15 miles of Fairchild. and the fully loaded tanker cannot lift off the runway short of 15 miles. So if they put in those big windmills within that 15-mile radius, the mission of Fairchild might go out the door. So they were very concerned about that. So,
As are we.
and then other than that, there's a regional transportation council meeting next week that I'll attend.
Okay, wonderful.
No report, Your Honor.
Okay. Councilmember Wilson.
No report, Your Honor.
Okay, Councilmember Herbold.
No report here.
Thank you. For my report, I'll just add to the 92nd, the tour of Fairchild with the 92nd. It was really exciting. They have a new commander. And then I've also been named as honorary commander, and I was very honored to accept that since my dad was career military. And so it's kind of full circle moment for me. I was feeling very happy to be there. Got to sit in the cockpit for takeoff, and we got to be down in the pod, and do some of the controls there for the refueling. It was just neat. Got some great pictures. But it was really neat to connect with them more on their mission. They have the same concerns that we do about, like I said, childcare. And then also just that legislative concern to have some change in the state law is what is needed. And we really need to champion that for our partners at Fairchild. The legislative change just needs to say that no windmills within 15 miles of a military airport. And that's really only one word that needs to change. There was some legislation that went forward last session. It said military installation, and they didn't get a lot of support from all of the military because there's some installations that don't have airports. And so getting that word changed, and then also looking for a federal change so that we can protect our military bases from, the windmills, which are becoming, more pervasive, I guess, for lack of a better word. I could go on and on about windmills, but and how I don't support those, but nonetheless, protecting Fairchild is going to be really important. So you'll probably hear a lot about that in the coming days. We have an executive team retreat coming up on September the 10th from 10 to 2. That'll be at Silver Lake Camp. And so it's going to be a time for our executive team to get together and talk about the capital budget, what's practical, prioritize those things, and kind of brainstorm together prior to the budget retreat, which then is scheduled with you fine folks on the 10th of October from 10 to 2, also at Silver Lake Camp. So looking forward to those two meetings and coming together. I've also asked staff to put together an appreciation for all city staff to have a little barbecue down at the park and maybe break out the kayaks and the paddle boards and just have some time to really appreciate them and let them have a couple hours to be served by us. And so we will get that invitation to you. We would love to have you come and also show your appreciation. Everyone's worked so hard this year. So really that's about all I have. The top of my head. It's still better.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick clarification. I think September 10th is the executive team retreat and October 15th is the
15
scheduled budget retreat for city council. Yes.
Too many tens.
A lot of.
Thank you.
10-15. Yeah.
At 10.
For the city council budget retreat.
It was October.
October 15th.
15th. I said October 10th. I'm sorry. It's October 15th at 10.
And what's the September one? Was that?
That was
Executive team. So it's Sunny and other department directors and myself, and that'll be September 10th. So you don't need to worry about that one. As much just to know that it is happening. We'll be preparing everything that we'll need for our October 15th meeting with you at 10. And then I did mention that we were going to have an all staff little retreat down at the park sometime, but that date has not been set. If that wasn't confusing enough. Thank you.
a lot of good things happening. So for my report to you this evening, I really just wanted to share a reminder of the city council vacancy procedures that we have. So Roxanne, if I could get you to pull up the slideshow. Oh, sorry, I meant to remind you when it came up. I slipped it in there when no one was looking. So we've had this happen, most all of you are probably familiar with, the process that we've used before, but we do have our council policies and procedures that lays out this process. And I really just wanted to share with you a little bit of information of what that, what expectations those laid out. So those council policies and procedures were adopted via resolution 24-645, and they were updated earlier this year, January 7th, 2025. And I always love pointing out the empty bench in the picture. So we're talking about a vacant seat on city council. So thank you. Perfect slide. Revised Code of Washington spells out the following requirements for vacancies in city council. It says where one position is vacant, the remaining members of the governing body shall appoint a qualified person to fill the vacant position. The appointment will commence upon selection of city council, and it will expire upon the certification of the 2027 election, which the results will be certified in November of 2027. And that's because the position will subsequently be filled by the winner of the 2027 election. And it will be for a 4-year term. So this vacancy happens to fall in the middle of the term. So it'll be to complete the term. We have 90 days to appoint a qualified replacement. And when I look at the calendar, that means that no later than November 18th, we must have someone appointed into that position. So a qualified replacement must be a citizen of the United States of America and the state of Washington, must be 18 years of age or older, and also must be a resident of the city of Medical Lake for at least 1 year preceding appointment per the RCWs. And the interviews and selection must take place in an open public meeting. So executive sessions can be used to discuss candidate qualifications, but all the interviews, the nominations, and the votes will happen in an open session of a city council meeting. And the mayor will declare the nominee receiving the majority vote as the new council member, and that new council member will be sworn into office no later than the next regularly scheduled council meeting. Next slide. So the following format was utilized previously in city council vacancy. As a reminder, the interviews must be scheduled during a regular council meeting and will be open to the public. The mayor will provide an overview of the format and the ground rules for the interview portion of the meeting. All candidates will be sequestered at City Hall for the duration of all other candidate interviews to make it fair. So we'll ask that they all stand aside and come in and interview individually. And the access to electronic devices will be prohibited during that sequestration. Candidates will be ushered to and from city council chambers by a staff member at the predetermined time. The candidates will be released from their sequestration upon conclusion of the final interview, and they may observe the remainder of the council meeting. The applicants will provide an opening statement to city council, which can be up to 2 minutes long. City council shall ask the predetermined set of questions, 1 question per council member, which must be responded by the applicant. Each applicant will be asked and will answer the same set of questions, and we'll have 2 minutes each question to answer. And that's up to 12 minutes. And then the applicant will provide a closing statement of up to 2 minutes, which would give us a 16-minute interview format. The order will be just by drawing names. That's what our policies and procedures say. So it'll be a random order. This is a proposed timeline to show you a comprehensive view of events that would take place to satisfy the requirements, and it's just provided for your reference. So we know that position is vacant, and to give us time to get that published. If we had it published by between 11 September for about a 30-day period, that would go to 10 October. Where's your 10 October?
I know the 10th is. I know 10 or something.
And then at that point, staff, so that's a Friday. So over the weekend, we would on Monday would give the chance for staff to gather all that materials, get it presented to all the council members for your review. And in advance of the October by the 14th of October, and then that's in advance of the 21st of October, where the candidate interviews and voting and selection could take place. And just as a reminder, the deadline would be, so not, if you couldn't make up your mind in that October 21st, there's still that buffer because the deadline's the 18th of November. So really the takeaways that we'll need from you between now and the time that we're doing those interviews is some application questions. So what we've done previously is asked every council member to provide one primary question and a secondary question in case some of you may think alike. We can have a diversity of questions there. And if council members submit the same primary question previously, the mayor would choose who's to accept, and then the backup question from the other council member will be used. The final list of questions will be provided to all council prior to the interview meeting, and each council member will ask their question during the interview. So,
I have one quick question.
Sure.
The council wanted to have an executive session to discuss qualifications. So if they receive those on the 14th, would we expect to have that? It's kind of short turnaround. Would we expect maybe to do an executive session on the 21st before we go into interviews? Or would we interview first and then have an executive session? How does that normally? I forgot how we did it last time.
Yeah, so we did limit it previously to 3 interviews, and I think there was 5 applicants, and so there was in that instance there was the circumstance to review qualifications and then come out and determine who would be interviewed. But our policies and procedures state that all qualified applicants will be interviewed, and so there really isn't a need. Staff will be able to review those applications to make sure they're qualified, and we'll see how many we have, and we'll schedule that accordingly.
Okay, very good. It could still be an executive session at some point.
Yes,
and that
for
could be
sure.
at any
After,
time. Yeah.
right, after the interviews, it is totally within parameters to have an executive session to discuss qualifications. No straw polls, no votes made in executive session. All that would happen in the open session, but you can retreat to an executive session to discuss qualifications of candidates.
Okay, very good. Any questions about the process from council? All right, thanks for that. Anything further, Mr. Weathers?
Nothing else to report at this time.
Thank you. All right, we're moving on then. We have a workshop discussion on the automatic license plate readers. And we've had some discussion about cameras. We've split those into 2 because it continued to be confusing when we talked about them all together. So we're going to talk about the license plate reader cameras, where would they be and their purpose, and have discussion about that. And then you'll see later, which we've already workshopped, and that's the surveillance cameras. Those are in the parks and places that we discussed last time, and that's later in the agenda. So again, just for the public's information and for your reminder that we're talking about those separately. So take it away, Mr. Weathers.
Right, so automatic license plate readers is found in page 3 of your packet, and there's a few pages following that as well with information. Automatic license plate readers are fixed roadside cameras that capture still images of vehicles and their license plates as they pass by those cameras. License plates are checked against hot lists and can provide alerts to law enforcement. Staff has been consulting with our partners at Spokane County Sheriff's Office Real-Time Crime Center and on preferred locations and equipment to enhance safety and security at key gateways to the city. We have Lieutenant Elliott with us tonight, who is happy to answer any questions that you may have that are beyond my capacity to answer, but they've had a lot of success with these across the county. So our discussion tonight is really about what they do, how they can benefit our community. We're looking at some fiscal impact. There's a little summary of where we would have them and what that equipment would be. There's also a couple of different vendor options. Those quotes are provided in your packet as well. And not that we're going to make any decisions tonight, but what we would do with council direction is draft resolutions to authorize a service agreement with the license plate readers and then come back to you for authorization of those locations and that agreement. And similarly, the benefit of our partnership with Spokane County Sheriff's Office is that we can piggyback off of agreements that they already have existing. And so they're the ones that we really want to have access to this information because they can do something about it. Whereas we would play intermediary. And so it's a really great option. And I will just let you know on page 6 is the quote that we got from Insight, and page 7 from Flock. So Insight is a little bit more affordable. And I know in talking with our partners at Spokane County Sheriff's Office that it's an opportunity. It's a little bit different system, and it gives them a little bit more control and access. Whereas what they have with Flock is a little more limiting with their rights. And so this is something that will really provide an opportunity to really be a test bed for this vendor in the market area. They do have cameras existing that they're working with. But anyway, the price tag for installation, these are infrastructure free cameras. So they come with solar powered batteries. And so there's no need to plug them into power or provide power on site. It's a pole, it's a camera, it's a solar panel, it's all self-contained unit. And as soon as it's plugged in and they connect with the county, they have the ability to see that information. And just as a reminder, when we were talking about cameras before, we met with our friends in Liberty Lake and saw the benefit that they have with these license plate readers with some of the locations that they have. Again, it's really it's a matter of bouncing it off hot lists, bad actors, so that they can verify and see if there's somebody who's up to no good in town. Cheney also had a pilot program where they brought out a license plate reader, or cameras on wheels, and they were able to put it in the area and instantly had a number of hits that resulted in some arrests. And then of course it tapered down because when bad actors know they're being watched, they do their business somewhere that they aren't being watched. And so at least in our community, where we're going from not knowing who's in and out of town to being able to know if there are bad actors out here doing bad things. So I'll pause there and happy to answer any questions or lean on my friend Lieutenant Elliott.
So I have one nitpicky item.
Sure.
In our background sheet and on resolution 766 has July 14th, 2024. Well, that's a Sunday. I don't remember meeting on a Sunday.
I may have I thought I had that. I will verify that. Yeah. When that took place.
The meeting would have been on 16th, which is
On the 16th of July. Okay.
I trust
Thank
your judgment on that. Thank you.
Hearing no objection, will be corrected in the workshop notes. I'll say a couple things. Sunny and I went to the command center, for lack of a better word, and we're able to watch the cameras in real time. And what they have set up there is pretty phenomenal. And the intent, what I was impressed is with a couple things. One, and I'll start with this. So as I was in the court for my career, it was common knowledge that the cameras were out on the freeway, the cameras are out on the main highways, and the bad actors know that. And so where did they bypass is through the small cities like Cheney and Medical Lake and other back roads. And so when we put cameras up too, then that's just a deterrent that they're to bypass through somewhere else, or they'll get caught coming through here. The other thing I like about it is that we're not keeping a log of every person that comes through town. It hits a hot list, and if it's somebody who they're already looking for, it's going to hit that. And then that information is only retained for 30 days and it's erased. So it's not like we have this public record. And the county doesn't want to keep that public record forever and ever. So it's a 30-day, it's erased, and it's a write over. And so that really adds that for those who feel like my personal information, you know, where's my privacy? Well, when you're out in the public driving around, you really don't have the right to that privacy, and it already is state law that any officer anywhere can come up behind your vehicle and run your plates and see who's driving, and, you know, that's all been allowed. It's been the law for as long as I was on the bench. And so anyway, just knowing that it doesn't really change anything other than it does alert us as to who's coming through town. And the more other small cities that get these cameras and we don't have them, more of them will choose, more of those bad actors may choose to take the route through Medical Lake, which we don't want. So I'm really happy about that. The other thing that came to mind this last week when we were meeting with DSHS is that oftentimes they have walkaways, or they may have somebody who comes and picks them up. And so if they're looking for somebody who maybe is an LRA, least restrictive alternative, who is criminal with mental health problems, they do walk away or they get picked up out of Medical Lake, they have a better opportunity maybe of getting an early alert. So anyway, the more I thought about it, I was impressed with the system. I was impressed with its purpose. And then, you know, I would like the council to understand really where those would be placed and how they would interact. Also, the cost on the flock safety, you'll see, is more than twice as much. Very proprietary, and they take a while to get. Insight is similar camera that comes recommended from the sheriff's office who are using these now, and so that gives us a lower cost entry level, you know, into giving them a try if that's what you're still trying to do. But so I just wanted to give my observations, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And then we have the sheriff here too. So
I have a couple of questions. So as far as the hot lists are concerned, like what delineates the level of offense that gets you on the hot list, right? Like, because I'm assuming it doesn't do like bench warrants or anything like that, like anything that would require probable cause, or like what level sets the hot list?
Yes,
Yeah.
please, if you want, we got to.
bench warrants
Easy,
required.
that's
for
easy.
That's a
probable
very good
cause.
question. So there's a couple ways that the hot lists can be entered. Number one is the NCIC, the National Crime Information Computer, is where if your car gets stolen, your father goes missing, you would call in. We enter that person in the National Crime Computer. So if they're searched by an officer, they'll get a hit. Hey, this vehicle's wanted, this person's missing, etc. So that's one hot list that's uploaded daily from the federal database. So if an agency, if it's Spokane, if it's Seattle, if it's Idaho, if they enter a vehicle with a person who's wanted, typically it's not entered with misdemeanor warrants from what I've seen. Typically it's going to be felony warrants and they're known to drive this vehicle. That may automatically hit in there. Otherwise, what we use most effectively here in Spokane and across kind of the new real-time policing landscape across the nation is we have effectiveness with entering hot lists based off of active investigations we have. We might have a list of warrants and there's so many smaller warrants, we're not entering those. But if it's felony warrants or other wanted persons, even if they're actively involved in an investigation, we can enter that vehicle in as either a vehicle of interest or wanted. And we have a very specifically laid out policy on what officers can and should do when they get a hit. It doesn't mean automatically pounce on that. You know, sometimes it's contact this person, contact the investigator. We can limit the hits down to one person getting a hit versus the entire network. So specifically to your question, it depends, right? So what is the warrant for? It's not automatically, not every warrant is in there on a hot list. And that's typically because not every vehicle is entered on, let's say, a bench warrant or a theft warrant or whatnot. It's typically going to be your upper level investigations or upper level crimes. Does that hit the point? Or
It does, and then like who sets that policy as to where? So is it just and who has the oversight? So is it the sheriff's department that you guys set the bar as to where it goes, as to who gets on a hot list? And is there any kind of like, is there a review process? Is there anything like that? So I've done some research on the flock cameras and stuff, and I know there's a couple like active litigations that are going out, and some of them are related to the cameras themselves, like Fourth Amendment stuff. There's a federal case that's challenging it based on Fourth Amendment rights. But then there's also a lot of incidences where individuals were allowed to use the system nefariously. And so that's primarily what I'm worried about is like, how do you guys have checks and balances in the system?
Now to give you some context, I'll provide a little more specifics in that because it can be very complex. There's so many different angles to this. So some of the articles you've read, I read the case law, we get public disclosure requests all the time on this topic. So we don't share our hot list outside of our area right here. So if we have a person that we want or a vehicle we want to find and detain within Spokane County, Medical Lake or otherwise, agencies outside the state typically are not going to have access to that. So some of the articles you might have read is some other agencies that were doing immigration enforcement, et cetera, had their searches had bounced off of our database. So if they're looking for this person, did they hit in Spokane? Did they hit Florida? Did they hit California, et cetera? And then it points them in that direction. We look at each of those circumstances very carefully, and sometimes we don't have national search, sometimes we do. And we can determine that sometimes it can just be, hey, contact this agency, it's hit on their cameras before. And it may not provide the picture or other information, specific information. One of those articles you might have come across had to do with, I think, Johnson County, Texas. They had done a search for, a woman who had had an abortion, right, which is a pretty hot topic. And it's not something that we investigate, we enforce, et cetera, here in Spokane County. When they fired off that article, what wasn't known is they weren't looking for her for charges on that. They were looking for her because she was at risk medically and she was a missing person. So in that specific situation, we have specific policies and we do audits on the use of every search in our system, and we can track that and go back and show why that search was done.
Okay, so there's no opportunity. One of the primary ones I was looking at is there was like one individual that was putting in license plates of people that he knew to kind of track them through their county. And so I just want to have assurances that there's audits and there's ways to make sure that when people are putting entries in there, they're for legitimate purposes.
Yeah, it's very specific in our policy. It's specific to state law, to case law. And is there the opportunity for somebody to go outside of the bounds and do something for their own benefit? We have discipline processes in place for that, and that should be noted in the audits and in our review. Okay. And obviously, we don't condone that. We don't tolerate that type of behavior. Right. But that can be used with many of our other systems outside of license plate readers that people can use to track people, search them outside of state law, and there's a lot of consequences that come with that. But yes, we do audit regularly. It's in our policy. And oftentimes our real-time crime center supervisor is Dustin Bonsgard, who you guys met, and he'll go in there and he's regularly contacting officers going, your reason for search is inadequate. You need to add a case number. We need to have some names that we can go back and find out why you did that search.
That does raise one question. Is this separate from CGIS completely, this system, or is it integrated somehow with the NCIC or the CGIS system? Are they integrated somehow, or is it completely separate?
Yeah, it's integrated. I mean, you have to have the same reasons for search, same security.
That security is intense, and it also has all the algorithms in there that search for improprieties. For instance, when we used to audit CGIS, it was a very intensive process, and they would come in, and every person who is given access has codes they have to use. Every keystroke they use is searchable, and then the consequences are pretty high if you use it nefariously. So not that it couldn't happen, but it's easy to find out who did it. That's for sure.
It meets all our IT standards that we have for all of our sensitive data systems. And like the mayor said before, the data is wiped after 30 days unless any of the data is determined to be part of a crime. Then we follow the Secretary of State retention records, and it gets logged into evidence, and all that is pretty strict on how we go about that. And just to add, some of these systems are new and upgraded and somewhat novel, but using license plate readers in the county is not. We've had them for about over 10 years. the technology's gotten better. We've gotten more of them, and they've probably been the most impactful and beneficial technology in our real-time space, license plate readers, amongst very important systems, but it's been extremely effective in dropping our crime rates. I mean, a 2-year period since we first installed the latest project, we've had in the unincorporated and the Spokane Valley combined about a 46% decrease in auto theft during that time period. And we're also working with WSU and some education partners to continue our evaluation on the impacts of this technology.
Thank you.
Councilmember Herbold.
How's the county paid for them? Have you received grants or?
Yes, so we have several different grant sources. Originally, the ARP grant, I authored the grant for this project back in 2021-22, where we were awarded the $4 million grant for the Real-Time Crime Center initiative at the regional level here in the county to support all our agency partners and cities. So the grant does expire at the end of 2026. So we are strategizing on future funding, the Real-Time Crime Center, real-time license plate readers, all of our different software systems, and how we're going to keep those running, keep it staffed. And I think we've shown immense success in what we've been doing and using our systems to their greatest value for the amount of time and effort that we're putting into them. So the Washington Auto Theft Grant, we just added I think 7 what we call long-range cameras that we get adjacent to state highways in order to get those plate reads to augment our law enforcement efforts. And other grants, I know that Spokane Valley also got the auto theft grant. They also have ARPA funds, and we're also seeking other grants. So grants are in play. I think CARES grant, we were able to get some of the trailers that are equipped with the license plate readers, and those trailers under the CARES grant were actually deployed during the Gray Fire. I was here involved with that response, and we were able to identify and detain potential looters in the area by deploying those assets out here when people were being evacuated.
Another question here.
I think I would just say, I don't know that the schematic we have of the locations, there's the Southwest Gateway, and they have it sort of west of Pine Street that goes up to the hospital. And I think if you're coming through Fancher, there's a couple other ways you can make it in without passing that Mountain Wood to the east side of Pine Street, closer to Waterfront.
I think in our initial assessment, we kind of got the general area, and then once you guys have an approval, I think they'll get down to like the specific location. What's the right of way? What is that piece of earth? Who does it belong to? What permissions and contracts? So I think, but that is definitely taken into account of what's the best. Our analysts usually look at those things you're looking at as well, but any of that input from the city as well to cover it best.
And that kind of goes into what you want to use it for. You want people coming from the hospital, and that would be a good place, but they can still take out the other way. I don't know.
They work better for vehicles that are capturing a rear plate.
Yeah.
Not all vehicles have a front plate. With one camera at each gate location, you're going to get the best read going away, but you will get vehicles coming the other way, but they're not the priority read, and they're not usually the best. We can do searches without a plate. We can do searches off of vehicle description based on the photo and analysis through the technology system. So you got good, better, best, right? And I think you guys are at better. Good's having something, better's having each location covered. Best would be having one at each location going both ways, but that comes with a higher price tag.
We had staffed that and thought that if we start with the 4, at least we're getting the one way at each, main entrance to the city. If we find that it's really beneficial and we could look to increase the cameras, but at least instead of going all in for the absolute, best with the both, getting the readers going both ways, that this would at least give us a great start. So
We're gonna try and see people coming into town on their rear plate, not leaving town. Right? That'd be the
Yeah, I
suggestion.
think the ideal is to know who's coming in.
Into town.
Yeah.
Then we know they're here.
Yeah.
And so
Gotcha.
if that hits a hot list and it's alerted, our local deputies will see that alert and have the ability to
we know they want to get out.
respond.
We want to know
Who's coming in? Exactly.
We're very likely going to get a picture of the vehicle. We're just going to get a better picture of that vehicle going away from it.
Yeah, no, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah,
good.
so
It is
we have a
sure.
crime that happens and somebody's leaving just the ability to check all the cameras and see, okay, they didn't go to these three, so they probably went out this way, or they never left, they're still here.
Yeah. What other questions come to mind?
Budget.
So, anyway,
Yeah,
appreciate
so,
the time.
these are budgeted for capital improvement projects, and then there's also there's about 32,000 in criminal, justice fund, which is specifically for law enforcement, innovative strategies. And we do receive annually about 65 to 7,000, so this would cover the majority of the annual costs each year. So it's essentially, funded.
And then there's a comment about the difference between the two systems and the level of access that you guys have between the Flock ones and the Insight ones. What's the difference there?
So Flock's been very successful. We have over 75 cameras in the county right now, maybe a little more than that. That are Flock primarily. Cheney's running Flock, Airway Heights, they might be cutting back on theirs a little bit, and Liberty Lake. With what we call data sovereignty, what we can do with that data, we have other systems that, we don't just use that license plate reader system. We bring that data into an aggregator called Peregrine, which is also grant funded. And that data aggregator takes multiple of our, like a dozen of our Intel systems, and uses that license plate data with computer aided dispatch and records data and other data, and paints a picture for us in the moment. And we are able, with Insight, we can bring that data directly in, unabashed, where Flock silos some of that data and doesn't let us use all of it outside of their own system. So it kind of limits and slows us down.
Is there a reason they do that?
Yes.
Proprietary.
Is it to charge you more money? Or is it to, I mean, do they data harvest it? Do they sell it? Do they?
No, by contract, they cannot.
Okay,
It is our data, but they look at it as intellectual property, what they do with that data inside their system. Therefore, they want you to keep you in their system. And in this market and in this technology environment right now, the ability to use disparate systems and have them work together to get a better picture so that we can do what we call precision policing and get the right answer quickly for decision intelligence is the free integration of data across platforms is necessary to do that. And when there's a limitation to us using our data, let's say your data coming in on your license plate reader system into the other systems that we pay a lot of money for, we don't want that membrane to be too thick. We want it to free flow, and it stays inside. It's all our own data. It doesn't leave the system. It's all contained. But for example, with the way we're integrating Flock right now, some of that data comes over into our other systems, such as Axon and Peregrine. I know I'm starting to speak different languages now.
no, you can.
And they are, some of it comes over, but some of it doesn't. So then my operators have to, they get maybe an alert or don't get an alert in the system that's up on their screen. Then they have to go back to another system like Flock, do an additional search, then go back to the other system as opposed to just operating in one place.
Okay.
Does that
Yeah,
help?
no, it does.
Yeah.
So Insight's more transparent.
They have what's called an open API. So the open API
Flexible.
allows us to have an unadulterated exchange of information. Now, they also give access to commercial data and other agency data that is not free flowing. We can have access to it through agreements, but we can't make that available to other systems so that people outside our agency can access it. So when you asked about people being able to search hot lists from out of state, they wouldn't be able to connect to that data through us and go around that vendor, if that makes sense.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
I've been against these things from the beginning. I don't like Big Brother overreaching.
Neither do I.
Good. However, it's been explained that, on a 30-day erasure thing, that's at least that's something to look at. And we're not going to be retaining these records and they're not going to be getting out. So I think I've softened my stance on it, to be honest with you.
To give you a little more insight, that's pardon the pun, into that is Flock has a very strict 30-day retention policy. Insight will allow us to have retention as long as we want. We're gonna stick to 30 days. We think it's reasonable. We care about safety and, well, privacy, individual privacy just as much as you do. And with some of our own officers come in and go, man, this stuff kind of gets scary. Like, well, we either have the trust of our communities to use it and use it correctly and not overstep, so that we can be effective, and we try to maintain that at all costs.
I think every program starts off that way, as long as we can maintain it within those parameters, at least it's livable that way.
Yeah, and you can't erase any level of feeling that there might be for Big Brother or a privacy or an infringement on your privacy. But you also have to look at how much am I willing to tolerate when it comes to crime or a missing loved one? What's the cost of having something in place to be able to combat that and keep it at bay? So
It's like peeling an onion, you've got layers. Absolutely.
So I think we just look for a balance that you're comfortable with in your community, and I think we're doing it professionally and we're doing it effectively, and we're leading the region on this effort right now. And it's starting to catch on, obviously. But we look at, again, not overstepping those bounds, making sure that the searches and the equipment is reasonable to accomplish the mission and isn't tracking. So
Good questions and good answers.
it only gets the vehicle passing through a point. It doesn't get destinations. It's not continuously tracking like some of the cases you saw have to do with, they're trying to equate it to tracking somebody's cell phone like GPS and require a warrant. Well, again, it doesn't get destinations. It's just a point in time.
But if you have one that are flagged, they're gonna stay longer, but then you have regulations statewide that cover that too.
Can you be more clear on that?
Well, I think that was a question that you asked earlier, and that's if you do have somebody that's a bad actor and it's flagged, and it's gonna stay longer than 30 days. Because you're investigating, there's still state ramifications for that also.
Even if have a person of interest, all the data, if we don't secure it, it's gone after 30 days, even
Okay.
if we know that person. In a situation like that, we will probably seek a search warrant and consider tracking of their vehicle with a physical tracker signed by a judge. That would be what we've done with our construction site burglars, where they hit a camera that we had down near a construction site getting burglarized. And then we developed probable cause, and then what probable cause went put a tracker on their vehicle. And in fact, the anecdote of that person that did that, he then saw the license plate reader camera. He went and stole the camera off the pole. And then we watched his GPS that we had on his car going with the GPS on our camera drive away. And then our camera disappeared when he went over the Spokane River because he probably threw it into the river. So we're gonna elevate our investigative efforts. We're gonna seek a search warrant and get better evidence in that circumstance.
Understand?
That's very good. And the best part in my mind is that the county owns all the records. And when there's a public records request, they manage that because they own it and we can't access all of their data. And they are a law enforcement agency for us and they manage their own records. And so those public records requests, which sometimes can be exhaustive,
They are.
that will be handled through the county. And so that's another benefit, that we get all the benefit and we have all the security, I guess, of knowing that you're managing all of that for us, which we appreciate.
Our current policies, our contracts with vendors, our MOUs, our data use agreements have all been vetted through our risk management, through our legal advisors, through the purchasing process, and through public venue just like this, through the commissioners on several different levels. And sometimes we'll seek out existing state contracts and make sure everything's covered and done correctly.
Okay.
And just one more note, is that as far as the agreement goes with Insight, it could be a 3-year agreement, but after that first year, there's an opportunity to cancel. And so if we wanted to, right, you were telling a little bit about the opportunity for us to write in that opportunity to get out. If we get to the conclusion that says, yeah, this juice isn't worth the squeeze, we have, even if we do a multi-year deal, we'll have the opportunity to cancel.
Flock's likely going to require a 2-year contract with us, just like you testing out this proposition, with us testing out this system with Insight. We want to see how it's going to operate and integrate with our systems. I've been able to negotiate a term of whatever you'd want it to be. If you want it to be 1 year, we can do 1 year. We can include clauses such as a non-appropriation clause if funding is not allocated. The contract is then with a 30-day cancel. can be wiped. And this is also, it's subscription based. You're not buying this equipment. It's not something you have to maintain. You're not gonna have added costs. So if the camera goes down, the company has to come fix it and they have to replace it. If somebody comes like they've done up in other parts of our county and go damage it, steal it, knock it over, there could be some incurring of basically a reinstallation fee of, I think it's less than $1,000. But we typically handle that through our safety loss process. We're self-insured, so maintenance and ongoing costs are pretty much nil.
Very good. Okay, well, that's really informative. We appreciate you coming out.
It's not too much information.
No,
Usually go on.
I love all the questions. I think they got to the heart of the matter, and I really appreciate you giving us.
If anybody has any other clarifications, you guys have me come back, or you can contact me directly if you want a tour. You're more than welcome. It's very transparent. There's nothing real fancy or mystical about it.
And if you want to take a tour, you should, because it's impressive. Sorry, I'm volunteering you, but
No, we appreciate that.
it really is remarkable, and officer time that's saved through this both kinds of cameras. It's incredible.
We have some incredible professionals working in there
Yeah.
that know what they're doing.
Mhm.
It would remain for the
Uh,
camera
we're gonna-
questions.
I think we have a couple other items first and then we'll be back.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so
Thank
much.
Thank you.
Shall bring council comfortable with that coming back as a resolution during the next meeting? For the inside cameras. Okay, sounds like that's where we're going there. Thank you so much. Action items, we have a consent agenda, approval of August 19, 2025 minutes. Council, have you had opportunity to review those minutes? Any corrections?
Move to approve.
I did see one on page 9, September 5th, was that the September 2nd meeting? We're talking about tonight's meeting. It's under workshops.
Workshop under B. Discussion, council is in favor of bringing a resolution to September 5 meeting. So that would be the
Should that be the second?
September 2nd. Looks like it to me.
Yeah.
Any other?
Let's circle that also.
You missed it.
Right.
You even circled it.
I did.
Any other corrections? I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as corrected.
To move.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I wasn't here, so I can't.
And Councilmember Olson will abstain.
Guess I wasn't here either, technically.
Councilmember Harville will also abstain. The four remaining council members for the meeting minutes. Approval of September 2nd, 2025 claim warrants number 52875 through 52917 in the amount of $298,746.55.
Move to approve.
Spears already reported. Thank you. Any questions about the finances, which you've all received copies? All in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous, thank you. And then Rocket Man Public Fireworks Display Permit for Winter Festival. That is on page 16. And we know the tree lighting and the fireworks that follow is. As to the festivities, I believe that's been signed off by Fireman Flock.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, we will have fireworks at the Winter Festival. Wonderful. We have no public hearing resolutions and 25-759 financial policy 14-102 meals and travel. We've actually workshopped this quite a bit, and I think we landed on the sweet spot, I should say. Mr. Ronald.
We'll see that council agrees.
Okay.
No, thank you, council, for all of your input throughout the process, and sad to see that Ms. Schaefer won't be here to see it approved. She was very passionate about it, but thank you. So any questions, I'm happy to answer, but.
Any questions or concerns? Otherwise we'll entertain a motion to pass resolution 25-759.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Resolution 25-759 passes unanimously. Resolution 25-766, the video surveillance camera locations. It should be other cameras, keeping them nice and separate from one another.
Council, you'll find this on page 40, starting on page 40 of your packets. And this is for the surveillance cameras. So cameras can assist in providing public safety and security by preventing or deterring acts of theft and vandalism, harassment, and assault by assisting in identification of individuals involved in that criminal activity on city-owned or managed property. Staff consulted with our friends at the Spokane County Sheriff's Office Real-Time Crime Center on some preferred locations of the key facilities and the equipment to enhance that safety and security at Waterfront Park, Pioneer Park, Coney Island Park, and Shepherd Field. Council did authorize a video surveillance policy, and that policy requires approval of City Council prior to placement of cameras. And when seeking approval, the objectives, the equipment, the location, the personnel authorized to operate the system, the times the monitoring will be in effect. The signage strategy and the fiscal impact must be addressed. And so starting on page 43, we can go through what all those do. The objective is pretty similar throughout. As we've discussed in the past, there has been a number of instances of vandalism and destruction of public property that's required staff time and energy to repair and replace. And we've had bathrooms that have been locked and closed while we arrange for that maintenance. And so this is an opportunity for us to take care of that. The benefit of cameras is that they're there all the time when we can't really place a deputy in all of those parks at all the time. That's not very cost effective, but having the cameras there really is a great solution, especially for after hours where there can be alerts that are set up with those cameras to say, hey, during these hours, if there's activity that lasts so many seconds, then that can put that alert out. So any regional deputy that's assigned will see that alert. You can pull up that camera real time and look and say, oh, yep, there's deer walking through the park. No big deal. Don't need to respond. Or they can say, that looks like somebody trying to kick through the vent of the bathroom door and break in and potentially light that toilet paper on fire again. And so they can respond and take care of that issue in real time. And so that's really the benefit. So as far as Waterfront Park goes, well, let's see. I had a couple of things I was going to share. The cameras make that an effective tool to multiply the value of our local deputies because they'll have access to that camera and be able to see what's happening and respond. So they can check in at any point on their shifts. Also, so concern of privacy is a big deal, and we don't want to violate the privacy of private property owners. And so these cameras, there's the ability as well to set fences in these cameras virtually, so they can blur out or black out certain views. So there is no infringement of that privacy, and that will certainly be the case for every one of these locations when they're set up. Any private property, any fence where we don't want to see beyond can be fenced out and blacked out, blurred out in those cameras. So there won't be any issue that way. And signs will be posted at the entrance of the parks too, to let people know that video surveillance is in use. So again, look in page 43 at Waterfront Park, just to go through how these reports are set. Really happy to receive your feedback too, because we do want air authorization on these locations tonight through this resolution. So if you'd like to see this information in a better format or more detail, happy to do so in the future. But these are the locations where we've had the most known issues and instances. So in Waterfront Park, there's 2 cameras that we're recommending to put into Waterfront Park. One pole be installed near the beach, and an existing pole that's by Ball Field 1 will be utilized, providing visibility of the driveway, playground, beach, bathrooms, and picnic areas, which is great. Also, just to bring to mind that there was an instance of a citizen who said they witnessed a person fall into the ice this past winter into Medical Lake, and the response that resulted in a search that came out, and there was a lot of resources that came out to do that search. With cameras, some of these cameras, so what's recommended here is a panoramic camera with a pan tilt zoom camera. Those pan tilt zoom cameras are pretty amazing. They can zoom in an extraordinary amount. And so having that camera in proximity to the beach to be able to see everything on the water. So if there is a call similar to that, the Real-Time Crime Center in fact, when we were there, they're listening to dispatch. So before it's actually dispatched, they're hearing the call come in and they're pulling up the camera to take a look, and they can visibly search to see exactly what's happening on the ice in that moment. There's no mystery or waiting or wondering. In that case, the ultimate outcome was they assume that if whoever did fall into the ice was able to get themselves out and leave, and it's still a mystery as to who it was, but clearly if it happened, they were able to get out okay. But these cameras would give our Real-Time Crime Center professionals the opportunity to real time see what's happening on that ice and know what to respond to accordingly. So that's what the equipment is. You can see a picture of that camera, the locations too. There's a picture in the middle left of that report. The little blue dots are the locations, the proposed locations of the cameras and the poles. There is an existing pole, so the price tag of being able to use that, the power as we were doing the lights for ball field 1. There's going to be a receiver at the top of that. The communications pole goes off to our lift station down there for any alarms, so that our public works team can respond to any deficiencies of the lift station. So that pole is there, and there's going to be a receiver for the lights that goes on that pole, and our Triumph, our contractor, is going to put the power up there to be able to handle that camera off of that pole. So that's great. No cost of pole associated there. The picture of the pole, well, you can see that too. Bottom middle of the picture area is that pole that will be utilized. And what you see on the top, that image is a panoramic image of what would be visible from the camera on that pole. And on the far right of that picture is the driveway coming in to Waterfront Park. And so if that pan tilt zoom isn't used anywhere else, it could just be focused right on that driveway to see who's coming in, if that's a concern, because we have had at Waterfront Park drivers who've made their way into the grassy areas, who've done loops around and destroyed our nice areas. And so this would be a way to help identify any of those.
A bunch of kids right now on motorcycles. They're like 13-year-old going fast down that trail. It's pretty sketchy. That'd be nice to have.
Yeah.
Though I have to say, right on the beach, that's a little awkward. I can appreciate that there's good things associated with that, like probably liability wise, there's good too. That's a little swimsuit area,
Sure, and
Just always a little concerned.
honestly, it's the ability to see the backside or the front side of the bathrooms that face that beach,
Yeah.
because that's where we've had a lot of vandalism and graffiti. So really being able to have that perspective. And again, it's we're not going to be monitoring these cameras for anything. It's only going to be that, hey, something happened. Call our friends and they'll take a look at what they have and what it can be used to help investigate and determine, identify.
So it's only males that cause problems in these bathrooms. It's on the male side.
Yeah, you'll, yeah,
That's funny.
it'd be,
They only kick in the man's side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. As a father of sons, I just thought that was.
So how long will the data from these cameras be kept?
it's the same policy, I believe.
Live video, we're about 14 days. And then if we don't detect anything by 14 days, it's getting erased. If we go too much longer, it's just too much data. And, it causes a lot more public disclosure requests and bogging down our processes. So we think 14 days is about maximum that we do with our video. Now you can decide if you want it longer or less than that, but we can do all the settings. The amount of settings that are available on these camera systems are pretty amazing. One example I'll give you is you're going to be supported by what we already have in place with video analytics and other systems. As I spoke to, there's one called BriefCam. So let's say you find some graffiti and it's been there sometime in the last week or two, you don't know when. We have a system where traditionally you would have to go view that video for the entire time of all the video for a week or two to be able to find when somebody came by and spray painted. We can essentially draw a box around the spot on the side of the bathroom or what have you. And we can process it through that system and make searches in a few, 2 to 15 minutes. And
Nice.
can give us any movement in that square during that time. So things we normally would not have endeavored to find, we now have systems that will help us find that and verify it. So those are just the back systems on it. So you can set the cameras to go towards movement. You can set them to even go to the entrance of the park and actually pull license plate data if you wanted to, and then go back to another position at a certain time. All those settings can be made. It's really whatever you want it to be. You can have them at the beach, faced away from the beach, unless they're manually there for an incident. I mean, there's so many different scenarios. It's hard to cover it all. It's customizable. We have a great team that knows what they're doing and have done this at helped doing this in Deer Park. They just did new Valley Precinct cameras, the hangar. They helped with the Valley Parks, setting up all those. So it can meet your needs, whatever you believe.
It's exciting.
Yeah, and then at the bottom, you'll see the fiscal impact as well. Oh, I guess I didn't mention the light pole that you see there as well. Those are poles we've previously used. So you may recognize them. We have them around the trail by the wastewater treatment plant. So we've used these poles before, and they serve well. They're at a good price point, and the bases, and so all that is included. And that's something that city staff can provide. We can install those poles, and we can get power to those poles in advance of the cameras. And so to reduce those costs as well. But at the bottom of the page, you'll see the fiscal impact. So the cameras, the equipment, the locations, the poles, the installation, the power, all of that is estimated to be, and then the router, which we'll mention as well, that PepLink router is the ability for those to communicate so that they can transmit that information wirelessly. And so the good news is as we've been looking at preparing contingencies and redundancies for our internet service in town, we've had a conversation with T-Mobile, who provides a rebate for these PepLink routers. So they're about $500 per router, and the rebate is $500 per agreement. And so, and I think those agreements were somewhere in the $30 to $40 a month range. So not an unreasonable price tag, and they'd be specific to these cameras. And it happens throughout the county. There's similar agreements at other locations in the county. So it's been a very successful program. And with that rebate, if we can capitalize on that, we'll have the opportunity to actually reduce these estimated costs. And then understanding annual licensing with cameras, that's something that will continue. And with these cameras in particular, this is, remind me again, Lieutenant Elliott, it's a 5-year contract or licensing contract, which you normally have, but you're in it 2 years. So this is a prorated what it would cost us to get on that same agreement for licensing updates.
For what's left in our 5-year agreement, you piggyback on that, have that remainder for the subscription and support.
Yeah, and I think what's beneficial about that too is as there's more licenses involved, there's more negotiation over those timeframes to say, well, now we have this many licenses, what kind of deal can you give us?
Are you guys still in your first term with the system? Okay. Have they told you whether or not they're expecting? I'm expecting that there's going to be some sort of increase in price when you renew the next contract term.
Yeah, I typically brace for anything upwards of 20% nowadays, but sometimes not. I mean, it really depends. This vendor is one of the upper level vendor contracts. So we typically deal with a lower level. Since we've done enterprise, we piggybacked an interlocal agreement that Seattle and Tacoma have been on.
Okay.
So we've got a pretty good deal
Okay.
with it. And that's subscription support may not go up as much as hardware. Hardware tends to go up a little more, and you're buying these, so they will have about a roughly, they estimate a 5-year lifespan. They can go longer depending on just the conditions.
Right.
The video would want to just consider as you get closer to the end of 5 years, hey, what's the price look like, so that you can have a replacement plan and get your budget.
Okay.
As you get closer, you just kind of start keeping the pulse on it.
And then new technology better cameras, better.
For example, we purchased a whole lot of cameras for intersections throughout the county, because there's like no camera footprint in the county. With Public Works, and we purchased on our grant a bunch of cameras. And now, as we're getting ready to install them, they're out with a new version of that
Already,
camera.
yeah.
So we're in negotiations with, do we want to upgrade that? Is it worth the capability? Or do we want to, is it worth the cost of the additional? And we get both deals. So we're always negotiating. We have great contacts with our vendors, and you'd be able to benefit from those inroads that we already have.
Does this include some sort of insurance? Because I'm guessing these are gonna be potentially messed with as well, right?
Yeah,
To some
and
extent.
though we will be adding any of that equipment to our insurance pool, and I know the county's mentioned with their risk reduction policy too, and it's so yeah, this is a little different. These agreements don't include the whatever happens, they'll fix it.
Okay.
So yeah.
I can see like Halloween, especially.
Yeah, these would be yours. These aren't subscribed or released. So
Is this already budgeted?
It is, yes. So in our capital improvement plan that was adopted last year for this year's delivery, there was a $75,000 project for cameras for public safety. And when you look at the total impact, which we see the total impact of all of these is on page 47. So that's looking at a $64,400 price tag for the installation. And then if you consider the $10,000 of the automatic license plate readers, if those both were to go through, that's a $75,000 price tag. So we were able to come in right at budget and accommodate cameras for all of the items that we were looking to address, which was pretty great.
Would we be able to budget, $35,000 in the next 5 years to replace all of the tech?
Yes, that's, and certainly a good point to make as we get into budget discussions for the future, is to know that, yep, with this equipment, there will be replacement costs. Our capital improvement plan's been really good about identifying end of life cycle items, and as we do this throughout, so this would become certainly one of those conversation points to consider.
if I may add, our vendors Access Communications, which is owned by Canon Corporation, so they're very high quality. We didn't go with less expensive. It's stuff that's pretty much built to last industry right now, pretty contemporary.
The cost of these cameras is pretty low, $175. And when you look at the camera itself, it's
When that's the licensing, yeah.
the licensing is $700 per year for waterfront park, $175 per camera. That's just for the licensing, but not the
Yeah.
unit.
Correct, yeah.
Neat.
It's wrapped into that 16,000. The
Okay.
pole was about $5,000. The cameras and the PetLink router was about $500. The cameras were, I think they were somewhere $4,000 or $5,000.
Yeah.
You said, sorry, access or
AXIS
access?
out of Tempe.
Which
But
you'll
they're
see
like-
in there too, the equipment utilized spells out those, what was recommended.
They're at a level with Bosch and other contemporary large company.
Yeah, I'm familiar with like Ubiquity or like the medium grade stuff, but.
And this image too of the camera on the lower left is that camera from their site. So that camera is a panoramic camera with a pan tilt zoom underneath it. So that is the unit as it would look.
Most everyone here had the opportunity to see the camera on wheels at the park. Same camera. That's equipped on that.
Yeah, so any other questions about Waterfront Park? So
Glad you guys separated the camera issues. That was good.
Yeah.
It was less than. And if you look at page 47, that will show the cameras in all the locations.
yeah, so 44 as Pioneer Park, again, same layout of the report. So you can see that panoramic view, which includes the community garden, the playgrounds, the picnic area, and the entrance to the restroom that we've had a lot of issues with. And so again, this one, looking at with just the pole and the cameras, about a $10,000 charge. Yes, sir.
Is there any chance that we could have somebody from the city go talk to the people that the cameras like right next to? that area just to say that it's being fenced out, because I could see us putting up a camera at Net Cousins.
Yes, no, I think, yeah, for sure. We'll
Absolutely.
have some
Yes.
It's
conversation
really
to
coming up the next
Yeah.
one.
give peace of
I
mind.
think we all discussed that together when we were walking.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's what makes it.
Yeah, there's a lot of areas there that would definitely get fenced, because you're looking beyond and there's backyards and
Yeah.
so.
Most people's apprehension goes away when you just tell them.
Well, that's the, yeah, communication point.
Yeah. Oh, great point. So if there's no questions, Pioneer Park, next page is Coney Island Park. Rationale for Coney Island Park is slightly different. We really haven't had the vandalism issues there. But we did have that as a development condition for the dock, that there would be a camera to be able to regulate and monitor the dock. But similarly, this is where that pan tilt zoom down by the beach or the waterfront would have 95% view of the entire lake. The one at waterfront would be the remaining piece that you can't see from Coney Island Park. So those two would give 100% coverage of the lake.
Not that good of a windsurf, I don't really want that camera. Okay.
And if there's no questions on Coney Island Park, the next page you'll find Shepherd Field. And this is really a 2-for-1, so you'll recognize it's a different price tag for a similar type scenario. But at Shepherd Field, we've also had previous concerns about the lack of lighting of the parking lot. And so this would include lighting. The pole would be placed in the center of that parking lot, provide lighting to the parking lot in after hours circumstances, and also have the camera, which you can see shows the walking trail, and the park and the bathrooms, which we also have had vandalism in. So
Both sides. Yeah, I know. Can the lights go on the field too, or?
no.
No,
I mean,
I
suppose
there's there, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it does get dark a lot earlier in the fall.
Yeah.
And then page 47 again is really just an overall view of all the cameras we're looking at. So there's 5 cameras, 5 sets of cameras. There's actually 10 cameras too in each of those locations, but for that total price tag. And again, the one other thing I'll mention, because it's not on here, but this would also have us doing an agreement with the Real Time Crime Center, who is willing to host the server on their site. And so we would pay for that equipment. They would host it all on site and keep all that information right there. Their IT would manage all of that. So it's the upfront cost for us, but it would all be on site there for their professionals to manage and deal with.
And then you guys would have to handle with all the information requests, right?
Yes.
Public records, yeah, we know what to do.
Yeah, and that ultimately, as we were workshopping that amongst staff too, it's like, well, the goal here is to be able to help with investigation and identification, and we don't do that. They do that. So really, they would be the authorized personnel in those camera systems.
Bringing it into one video management system that we already have also saves you money. And the subscription brings those feeds in, and it's just much easier and it's already in place. It's not a system that you have to manage.
And the IT support to keep it when things.
Well, I think we
get
all talked about the
glitchy
cost of
upfront.
bringing a vendor to do what
Absolutely.
our team's already done for planning, and these inroads would be multiple thousands of dollars more in just service fees.
Buy costs another hat.
No, thanks. Make it happen.
So.
The annual licensing to that doesn't include like the cell, like the Verizon bill.
Correct. That's not included there. So yeah, that
That's the
would,
PepLink credit.
right. The PEP links. And again, those are about $40 ish a month per park, right? So we wouldn't need 2 of them in Waterfront Park. One PepLink router would be able to utilize both cameras there, and potentially more if we were to expand. But these are the pinch points that we've been discussing over the years where we've had the issues, and so we didn't want to reach beyond that at this point. But I believe with all my heart that from this level of investment, we will see a marked drop in vandalism and damage to public property. And as a result of that, there's savings. Some of those bathrooms, I'm pretty sure, have added, and we've lost square footage because there's so much paint on those walls covering the graffiti. That
So what I like about it is we're gonna be able to possibly hold people accountable, because for years we haven't been able to do that.
That's
And
right.
We spin our wheels just repainting stuff and replacing stuff. And I like it as a tool. Very much so. Sure.
And so there is also a resolution here included that's asking for approval of these locations and this equipment and these uses. And what that will give us the ability to do as staff is to start to acquire those poles and those pedestals so that we can begin the installation of that and getting power to those spots, while we also work with our partners at the county for purchase and reimbursement agreements. So they can purchase the cameras, which is another tremendous deal, that they're already working with these vendors and have vetted all of this procurement wise, so that they can purchase and they will come and help install those cameras and assemble those cameras and ensure that they're connecting with their systems all. So all of that, but we can get started on those poles because that's critical. And then we'll work on that reimbursement agreement with our partners, so that we'll bring that back for approval at the next meeting.
Okay. Without further ado, then, if there's no other questions, looking for approval of resolution 5766.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, thank you. Sir, really great.
Thank you.
Resolution 5768, a bid award, call for backup power generator. These are, Haas's FEMA friends. So with all of his diligent work, we have some street improvements that were paid for, but also backup generators to all of our facilities. And so this is really a great thing that's being funded by FEMA. But Sonia, I don't know if you want to give a brief on that.
Yeah, just real quickly, there were 5 bids that came in for the generators. The lowest responsive bid was Dorsch & Call, and so that's the recommendation here on page 48 of your packet is the resolution. Tom's recommendation letter follows that. And yeah, largely FEMA funded. This was a hazard mitigation program grant that we received. FEMA will fund 75% of that. The state will fund 12.5%, and the city's portion is 12.5%. Of course, this bid is happening a couple years after the grant was awarded, and there is pretty tight lines on that award, and so we're about $150,000 over the total grant, but we're working on some strategies as to how we can potentially pivot and have the capital requests from the city maybe solve that need in the near term. And so anyway, but this is such a valuable project that even at that extra $150,000 is totally worth our time and energy to have backup power at our key facilities. So this is our Glen Road well, Craig Road well, and Spokane Intertie. It's at City Hall. It's the wastewater treatment plant updating and end of useful life massive generator down there, and then also at our maintenance facility. So which really is super valuable. And anyway, I'm very excited.
So our 12.5% of that bid was 116,000, and you're saying we're another 150,000 over that?
Correct.
Is that
The exact amount is 230,000 that the city will bear.
Yeah, this was the original
yeah,
grant amount.
yeah, but this is the updated plan amount.
Right.
Awesome. So is that general fund then?
No, so this, I took the liberty of splitting it out based on where these are coming from, because it is even though it's one project, it's multiple funds. So essentially, there's the capital improvement fund for City Hall, and then there's the water restricted fund for the wells and for maintenance, and then there's the wastewater restricted fund for wastewater. And so essentially, what we're looking at is the grant. Well, this are approximate, but so about 39,000 for the capital improvement fund, 115,000 for the water fund, and about 72,000 for the wastewater fund, which each of these respectively is 26,000 over what we budgeted, and then 41,000 what we budgeted for water, and then 15,000 over what we budgeted for wastewater. So the burden is split up, and it's also not extremely far beyond what we budgeted for each of those. So the impacts are bearable.
And there's sufficient funds in those accounts to cover that for this very thing, infrastructure improvements that help us prepare for emergencies. So it's
It's really important to reiterate that they turn off the power. You know,
Yeah.
that's what reiterating.
And even more so, yeah, now that we have PSPS, when we're the highest risk and they turn power off, we have to keep our operations running, our wells and our wastewater treatment plant and maintenance. So City Hall too. City Hall is now the place that people come when the power gets turned off, and so they can come for heating or cooling or to charge their phones and get some food, whatever. So this is part of our hazard mitigation plan. The fact that this dollar figure is being paid for by the federal government, we would be foolish to pass it up. And we have the funds to pay for it. And staff has just done an incredible job of working hard to put this together, and Sunny and Cost and
So
everybody else. So
do we already have the state's 116,000 that's coming, or their 12.5%? We already,
That has been factored in. So essentially, the feds will pay for 599,000 and the state will pay for 99,000.
Oh.
And then the remaining amount is the 230,000
Okay.
that we have to bear. We checked to see if there was any other circumstance that we could exercise in the grant agreement that would allow us to update the costs after 2 years, since it's been so long and there's been inflation, but there is not. But as Sunny noted, we will be pursuing this as a capital ask with the state, and since it's an potentially obligated project with some great meaning behind it, we were hoping that they will fund that. Our portion
within
of it.
reason, usually there's about 300,000 that we can ask for. This falls right in line with everything that we've been going to legislature for over the last 3 years really. But anyway, so we're pretty confident that we'll get that as an appropriation mid-budget. So
Are these natural gas or are they diesel?
They're diesel.
Okay. Do we know what the projected runtime is on a full tank?
So it varies, the different sizes and the different capacities.
Log makes a big difference.
Yeah,
Right.
mostly I'm looking at like the wells and wastewater treatment plant. I would assume that they would give us at least a couple of days buffer before we'd have to strap a gas tank onto a four-wheeler or something. And
Right, well, yeah, and I am happy to share with you the bid requirements that were
It's
prepared by
it's complex.
our engineer. It's about this thick with all the details of what they were looking, but I off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but I'm happy to dig through that and see what those were.
yeah, even if we just find a ballpark, I'm just
Yeah.
kind of wondering.
Yeah.
That's more of the G list thing.
Sure. Yeah.
I move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Resolution 25-768. Council, for your thoughtful engagement tonight on all those important news. We have no ordinances, no executive session, no emergency ordinances. Noted upcoming agenda items. Last opportunity for interested citizen comment. Anyone online or in the room that would like to citizen comment? Going once, going twice.
I have
Opportunity.
one other thought, what's the status of the light poles in the park?
Okay, you want an update? That work is going to continue.
Yeah,
It's-
sorry, I guess.
Delayed with the union, there's a union strike, but anyway, that work is getting ready to continue, and I think it's happening.
This week,
This week,
September
yeah.
4th. So the
Yeah.
park will be
Yeah.
closed on September 4th to accommodate the power off conditions so they can, and they will have a crane to fly those poles into place and secure them and hook it all up. So yeah, September 4th is our new date. We did have a little delay due to the union strike.
Is there something happen with the state land transfer? Has that happened?
We had a first meeting and we'll have some future meetings. This was just an introductory. The whole meeting was about, let's discuss in detail the uses and expectations, what's going to happen, but they have a legislative directive to transfer this land to us by May of 2026. And so it was a very great and congenial meeting. And we have another meeting scheduled to have a little bit of homework on both sides to do, and we'll meet back together, but we'll bring you further updates as we meet on those. So thank you for asking.
Okay.
Since we started this little wagon here, Coney Island dock, is there an update on that? Because people do ask about that.
Speaking of the difficulty of getting a crane.
Yeah, we're continuing to work and coordinate with the contractor to get a crane for the pier work, for the pier work, for the fixed pier portion of the dock. So continuing with great enthusiasm to attempt to get all that coordinated. Hopeful.
Interesting.
Any other citizen comments? Thank you, citizens and council. I appreciate that so much. I really do. All right, entertain a motion to conclude then. All in favor? No one's opposed. Meeting concluded. Thank you, council. Thank you. For those who attend, we appreciate your